I repeat, sir, the rights of the mother and father become conditional on a period of employment, become conditional on a contractual arrangement. I don't think that is right. I really do not think that is right. I don't know how you manage somehow to relate pregnancy and the rights which flow from pregnancy to commerce and contract. I don't know. If that is a moral position, well, I accept that I am taking a moral position. And if that moral position is to be defeated by something called legal reasoning, I stay with the moral position. If that moral position must be defeated by commercial and contractual expediency, I continue to take that moral position. I cannot depart from it. I cannot depart from it because all of us in here know the story of the birth of the greatest man in circumstances of equal adversity. Equal adversity. And the punishment that his parents received, the indignity of the stable. Well, here is the modern stable of Joseph and Mary. Exclusion from the right to maternity and paternity leave simply because you have not worked with that employer continuously for at least 12 months. I don't know what is magical about 12 months. I don't. What we do know, and it is not magical, it is miraculous. Birth, the miracle of birth, which is responsible for the presence of all 30 people in this chamber. And how dare we as men and women who are the products of that miracle called birth condemn a man and a woman to a denial of maternity and paternity leave when we claim that we are doing it. How dare we seek to further condemn them to a criminal court? I've said enough, sir. I'm obliged to you. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of DLP TV, Thursday, October the 2nd, 2025. We have a very interesting panel, another distinguished panel here this evening. I say that in opening because we had planned a different show. After Tuesday, we had planned to do a second portion of the matter that we dealt with on Tuesday, involving the right to vote. Two of those panelists are unavailable tonight, so at short notice, we have assembled this very knowledgeable panel to look at issues of welfare and upfront to look at this family leave bill that I think is still before the Parliament of Barbados. It certainly came to the lower house, and I believe it's on its way to the upper house. I want to say something about that family leave bill, which I would have covered in the video that you saw, the short video. The government would have congratulated itself for extending what I call parental leave. And parental leave used to be reserved only for women, so we called it maternity leave. And as you know, that was associated with pregnancy, and most women would take that maternity leave just prior to the birth and for a few more weeks, well, many more weeks after the birth of the child. I think the government wants to congratulate itself, and justifiably so. We are honest voices for the people, and when there's reason to congratulate, we do that. And they have extended parental leave to men, In other words, whereas we had only maternity leave, we now have paternity leave. And that is commendable. Except that when one reads the legislation and reads between the lines and reads the lines of the legislation, you don't need to go between the lines. When you read the lines of the legislation, it has done something that it ought not to have done. It says that a woman who is pregnant and wants to apply to her employer for leave must have been working with that employer for 12 months prior to the date of her confinement. Now, as you know, confinement is that period in which the doctor certifies that she should rest before the birth. And this law, commendable as it is in its objective, is saying to that lady that she must have been working with that employer for 12 months prior to the confinement. We consider that immoral. It is basically saying to the employer, if she did not become pregnant while she was your employee, you can reject her requests for maternity leave. Something is wrong with that. That's immoral. The law generally tries to, or one of the objectives of the law is to reject immorality and to embrace morality. Our position is that that stipulation is immoral. That you're basically trying to fix the date at which a woman can become pregnant as a precondition for her right to maternity leave. That's wrong. That's wrong. As I said in Parliament, look, some ladies have difficult pregnancies, and a lady's entitled, if she has a difficult first pregnancy and she loses the child, she can't go to a calendar, not even a calendar of employment, and decide when she will become pregnant again. A woman is entitled to become pregnant at any time. As I called it, the miracle of birth. And a law that makes an application for maternity leave conditional on a period of employment is immoral. It's wrong. And that is what this law, called the Family Leave Bill, has done. Certainly in relation to the men as well. Under this law, for the first time in the history of this country, men are entitled to paternity leave. But a similar provision applies. That man, that father, can apply for his paternity leave flowing from his partner's pregnancy. He can apply for that leave. I think he gets up to 3 or 4 weeks. And he also must have been in his employer's employment for a period of 12 months. Now, there's something doubly wrong about that, because men don't get pregnant. So that why should you make his right conditional on his period of employment with his employer? And just as related to the woman, why must he have been working for 12 months with his employer to qualify for paternity leave? Again, we say that is immoral. The law rejects immorality. The law generally seeks to embrace morality. We take the position that this law is a moral law. As I said, it is fixing the date at which a woman is allowed to become pregnant. It is permitting employers to say to a woman, if you became pregnant outside of the period of your employment with me, I am entitled to reject your request for leave. Now, ladies and gentlemen, is that not immoral? We think it is. We think that pregnancy and birth, we think that they're sacred. And we consider it undignified for a law to stipulate when a woman can become pregnant, and that if she becomes pregnant before she comes into somebody's employment, she cannot then apply to that employer for maternity leave. There's something entirely wrong about that. But you know, the law went further. Not only does it visit indignity on the act and the fact of pregnancy, not only does it dehumanize the woman in circumstances of pregnancy, there's a section later in the act which criminalizes the lady and the man in that relationship. Further on in the act, it says that if one of those parties or both, the mother or the father, give false information as to the date of that pregnancy, they have committed a criminal offense. We spoke of visiting indignity on a mother. We spoke of visiting indignity on a father. We spoke of the immorality of an arrangement, the immorality of a stipulation in a law that requires a man and a woman to arrange pregnancy and birth within a contract, within commerce. As I said in Parliament, commerce and biology have met in this legislation, and commerce is the victor. That's wrong. That's wrong. That undermines the sacredness that is associated with pregnancy and birth. Now, I've promised you that the act has gone further. And they're saying that if both parties give false information as to that pregnancy, the date of that pregnancy, that they've committed a criminal offense. Generally speaking, this area of law is called family law, domestic law. And the criminal law never comes into it. Here it is in this legislation, which is meant to be dignified, which is meant to honor and acknowledge the dignity of paternity and maternity and the dignity of childbirth. Here is this law taking all of that into the realm of criminal law. And it is saying to the mother and the father that if they give false information as to the date of the pregnancy, then they have committed a criminal offense. And having committed that criminal offense, they can be dragged off to the magistrate's court. And if they're found guilty of having furnished false information to the employer, that they can be fined up to $10,000 or imprisoned for 24 months or both. This family leave bill has dragged the sanctity and the sacredness of family law into the criminal courts. So that when we accuse the government of having stipulated immoral provisions in that they have fixed the right to pregnancy and childbirth within a commercial contract, they go further and criminalize those parties. Now, I am constrained to take you back, viewers, to the birth, I'm sorry about the pun, the birth of the right to maternity leave. In 1976, July to be precise, the then government passed the maternity rights law. And that law contained a criminal provision. But that law contained a criminal provision which pertained or applied to the employer. Obviously, if you had an employer who is refusing to give maternity leave to the lady, that is such an egregious wrong that the law then, the maternity law then said, look, if you deprive or if you seek to deprive a lady of her right to maternity leave, you've committed a criminal offense. And we could understand that. And the entire world could understand that. But in that legislation, there was no criminalization of the woman, the hapless woman, whether married or single. They were all entitled to that right, and that right remains sacred, and that right has been preserved to this day. And there was never an attempt to criminalize the mother, the father, never any such attempt. In 2025, when a government congratulates itself for extending paternal, I beg your pardon, parental leave to men, and they're entitled to congratulate themselves, within the same legislation that ought to have deserved commendation. They have reduced pregnancy to a commercial bargain, a commercial exchange, and that is wrong. That is immoral, and we cannot support that. And they've gone further, and they have criminalized both the mother and the father. Barbadians need to understand this. Barbadians need to understand that whenever this government comes to Parliament, and passes law, that when you examine those laws carefully, there are, I would say, features of oppressive rule. I was about to say features that are reminiscent of a Nazi government. And this law, I don't know that this law must go untroubled by the citizens of this country. A law that renders pregnancy and maternity leave subject to a commercial bargain, a commercial exchange, and then goes further and criminalizes the mother and the father. Barbadians, that's where we are tonight. With this law that is on its way to the Senate. And we are hoping to arouse your interests, your feelings as to the nature and content of this law. This portion of the law must not be allowed to become law in Barbados. As I said, it renders sex, pregnancy, and maternity and paternity leave as an undignified affair subject to a commercial bargain, and then it criminalizes it in that both parents may be dragged before a magistrate's court and, if found guilty, be exposed to imprisonment for up to 24 months or a fine of up to $10,000. That's not good law. I spoke of the Senate. I don't think it has come to the Senate as yet, but tonight we have a senator on our panel. Senator Worrell has been a president of the Democratic Labour Party. He is our candidate, and he has been a senator in a previous government between 2008 and 2018. So that Andre, in spite of his tender age, has been serving this party and this country for a long time. And he is one of the two senators appointed to serve and to represent the interests of the Democratic Labour Party in the upper house. As I said, I may have said, I hope I said that he's our candidate for St. Michael's Central. And it is an absolute pleasure and a delight to have Senator Worrell on this panel tonight. Welcome, Senator.
Good evening. Good evening to the panel and good evening to the listening audience.
To Senator Worrell's left, I can call you Andre tonight, can I? Good. To Andre's immediate left is a young lady. She lectures at the University of the West Indies. I believe her area is philosophy. She was our candidate in St. James North in the recent by-election. And whenever I say by-election, I always say the pun is intended. But Felicia Dujon has been an excellent standard bearer for this party. She's our spokesperson on education. And to be honest with you, Felicia speaks on education more often than the two ministers of education. Felicia is known across Barbados. She looks out for the interests not only of parents and teachers, but the most important persons in that relationship of parents and teachers and schools, the children. Felicia has been the voice, the honest voice for the children of this country in relation to their rights and their dignified right to receive a good education in this country. Felicia, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on this panel with us tonight.
Good evening, Peter. Good evening, viewers, and good evening, fellow panelists.
Thank you. You're welcome. To Felicia's immediate left, a young man. I'm always tempted to tell this young man's story. He's an athlete. He was an athlete. I think he still has it in him. He's still a young man. He is now a lawyer. And you would have seen him host these programs from time to time. He's impressed people here in Barbados and across the diaspora. Whenever he's absent, they asked me, where's young Damien Fanus tonight? Well, here's young Damien Fanus tonight. Damien, welcome to DLP TV.
Thank you very much, Comrade Leader. Welcome, panelists. Welcome those from the region and the wider diaspora. Good night.
Damien is also fairly soft-spoken. The next voice that I will introduce is also soft-spoken. And she has been working with us for some time, one of the more dedicated research people around the office of the leader of the opposition, and certainly around the Democratic Labour Party in administration as well. The candidate for Christchurch West Central. She played cricket for Barbados. She hates it when I say that. But I like to say it so that the public is aware that we are bringing to the people of this country rounded individuals, people who are rooted in community life and community work. Such a person is young Malissa Howard, and I say young Malissa Howard. Malissa is very articulate on all of the issues. Malissa is qualified to sit on just about every panel that we assemble. She's very modest, and sometimes we have to beg Malissa, come and sit on this one. We have begged Malissa successfully this evening to sit on this panel. Malissa, welcome.
Thank you. Good night to the viewers. Good night to my panel.
Thank you. Now, tonight we are going to, the panel has promised me, in spite of my lengthy monologue, that they're qualified to discuss the family leave bill as well. And certainly Senator Worrell will be debating it when it comes to the Senate. But we're also going to look at general issues of welfare. And up front, I'm going to remind you of the statement that Mr. Abed made. That sets the scene for issues of welfare in Barbados. I know that you have prepared yourselves to respond to this family leave bill, which went through the Parliament fairly quietly, except for my protest. It has not been one of the pieces of legislation that has aroused public disquiet and public protest, except that we've come here tonight to indicate to the public the aspects of this legislation that ought to arouse that public disquiet, that ought to arouse public debate and public protest. So who am I going to ask first to offer his or her response? Senator Worrell is looking directly at me. So we'll hear Senator Worrell at it.
All right, well, thank you very much. And I am happy to be here this afternoon to discuss this family leave bill. Now, one would not expect that you would have any issues with a family leave bill. It's something that is necessary, and especially the granting of paternity leave for men has been long in coming, and I'm certain that Barbadian men appreciate that. But as you rightly raised, what you find issues with is the whole aspect of criminalizing pregnancy.
Yes.
And when you look at it, it seems as though that the bill was more written in favor of the employers,
yes,
as opposed to the employee and as opposed to the family.
Yes.
Because you should never have a situation, the claims would not have been necessary if you had not put in the bill in the first place the requirement of the 12 months. And this is where the bill also is tone deaf. It's not necessarily listening to people, and it's not in touch with the realities. Because if it says 12 months before confinement,
yes,
we need to look at some scenarios as to where this could be a problem. Right? And one such scenario, suppose the lady was working for 6 months and got pregnant.
Excellent.
And naturally, her 12 months confinement for a normal birth would come outside of that 12-month period.
Correct.
But suppose she has a problematic pregnancy,
Indeed.
and her doctor says to her, you need to be on bed rest from the first trimester, 3 months. Right. She already falls a victim to this bill because she did not make the 12-month period. That is one scenario. Then we also need to look at another situation, in particular for mature women. Now you have a mature woman who gained her qualifications her experience, but then she started a new job.
Yes.
She started a new job as a manager in another company.
Mhm.
But she is coming to the end of her fertility window.
Yes.
And her husband, they want to have a family.
Mhm.
And her fertility clock is running out.
Yes.
And because people go to doctors for the ovulation cycle. I
Mhm.
suppose her best ovulation cycle is within the first 3 months of her starting that job. Are
Mhm.
you telling her that she must sacrifice her rights to have a child
Yes.
and a family for a job? These are things that the bill falls toward them too
Mhm.
and need to be looked into. So there would not be a need for that 12-month period if the bill had not been written in favor of the employers,
Employer.
because many employers would have issues with persons starting a job and then have to have an extended period of leave for maternity leave. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that because, as you said, birth is natural. Look at the persons who it would affect. Because if you look at it, for most professional women, if you really want them to have children, it's probably best for them to have these children immediately after coming out of university,
Mhm.
before they get too stabilized into
Mhm.
their career.
Yeah.
Because then the career will become priority. So you're basically telling a young married couple, so suppose you have two university graduates at 24
Mhm.
getting married,
Mhm.
that oh no, you must wait 12 months
Mhm.
before you
Mhm.
have a baby. So
Yes.
you have the law going into the bedroom
Precisely.
of married couples. I wonder how this
Or
would,
sing or two unmarried couples. It doesn't matter.
exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder how this will go down in Republican USA, where you're either telling them to take contraceptives
Mhm.
or have an abortion
Mhm.
if they do become pregnant.
Mhm.
How would this? What sort of appetite would the Republicans or Catholics
Mhm.
have for this particular
Yes.
legislation? Because
Yes.
if you're a Catholic, you don't
Mhm.
necessarily use contraceptive,
Oh yes.
right?
Yes.
So therefore, you're saying to a Catholic, well, if you want this job, you better use contraceptives and don't
Yes.
get pregnant
On my time.
on my time.
Yes.
And that is unfair to persons who want to start a family. And then at the back of it, where it is also insensitive, you're then telling people, look, the population of Barbados is declining.
Mhm.
Our birth rate is declining. But yet you're putting limitations on when people can have children. Shouldn't you be encouraging
Precisely.
as many young people as possible to have children? Because this will affect mostly young people who are starting a job for the first time,
Yes.
who are going into the job for the first time. Now they're being penalized
Mhm.
and they can possibly lose their job just because they did natural thing of wanting to start a family. So you're making it seem as though starting a family is something immoral
Yes.
and something wrong. And really and truly, this needs to be highlighted and looked at. If there's nothing wrong with the granting of paternity leave, I would
Mhm. We
hope I
commend
would
that.
get to come back to the paternity leave
Yes.
later.
Yes,
But
please.
there's nothing wrong with the granting of the paternity leave and the establishing the paternity leave. It can go further with the maternity leave because 6 months is not enough.
Correct.
I think that we should be now looking at 9 months paternity
I mean, 12.
or 12 months paternity leave. And also with paternity leave, they could have gone further as well. There's a particular clause
Mhm.
that I would want to come back to later in a situation where the mother dies during the pregnancy.
Mhm.
And you know that the
Mhm.
father only gets an additional 3 weeks.
Yes. All right.
Based on that.
We'll come back to you on that. Excellent exposition. You mentioned, Andre, that the law is anti-employee and anti-family. I like that. And sitting to your immediate left is a family person. Can I disclose to the public that you're a mother of two
Of course.
handsome young boys?
Thank you.
A wife and a mother of two handsome young boys. Felicia, Andre has been very eloquent.
And I appreciate and I thank our comrade for doing that, our
Yeah.
senator for doing that.
Your
And
views.
I think it's important that we acknowledge the work that the Democratic People Party has done, particularly for ensuring that the rights of citizens, particularly the rights of women and men, are not
Mhm.
infringed upon.
Yes.
We're seeing a government that wants to pass unjust laws
Yes.
to its citizens and try to use every advantage that they have to,
Mhm.
in other words, try to make citizens feel as if their rights are not important, their rights are not equal.
Mhm.
And I think it's important that we recognize the type of government that we're dealing with.
Mhm.
And I thank you for standing up for parents. I thank you for standing up for fathers in particular, because it seems also we have a government that does not understand the role and responsibility of fathers.
Mhm.
They believe that a father's right is only limited to 3 weeks,
Yes.
as opposed to a mother. And it's always surprising when you get that imbalance and
Yes.
inequalities.
Yes.
And so if we are going to compliment the government, yes, we would like the idea that they want to pass this bill, but the reality is it shows the inequalities and inequities that exist in this bill.
Yes.
If we are going to think about gender equality and
Mhm.
gender balance,
Mhm.
we have to consider our brothers, our fathers.
Yes.
We have to consider them. It doesn't seem like, I'm very hesitant to say that, but it seems that the persons within government are not concerned about the men.
Yeah.
And it also makes me think that
Here, here.
we have the majority of men in parliament, but they're not standing up for their own rights because some of them will become fathers or are fathers
Mhm.
or have family members that are male.
Mhm.
And what the law actually does, it tries to diminish the roles of a father.
Mhm.
And I think it's about time that we give fathers the rights and the respect that is due to them and do not allow any kind of belief
Mhm.
that the rights of fathers are not as equal as mothers.
You're speaking about the unequal time given as between the mother and the father.
45 years later, because this bill's supposed to repeal the
But
old
let
bill.
us tell the public, the lady gets what? How many
14
weeks?
weeks.
14
The
weeks.
mother
And the
gets
father
40
gets 3?
3
3
weeks.
weeks.
And that's the inequality to
That
which
is,
you
it is
refer.
an inequality.
You think the
because
3 weeks is
I
almost
think it's
patronizing then?
I
You're giving the
think-
right to men, and it sounds almost patronizing, Felicia.
it is, and it also tells us how this government think about men and
Supposing the
fathers.
lady's ill.
It's not even about being ill. What if she's healthy? He has that right to be a father.
Mhm.
It's
But
not
to be
because,
supportive
and we
of her
have
and
to
the
look
baby.
at that when we talk about the issues. So we may talk about the biological nature of women, and a woman, her body has gone through the trauma,
Mhm.
but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that the father does not need the same, or at least
Mhm.
some time with the mother,
Yes.
or at least with the newborn. There is a bonding period,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
if you're saying that, basically what this government is saying is that fathers' rights are not equal as mothers' rights,
Mhm.
and that should
Mhm.
never be.
Mhm.
There's a spiritual element to it. Fathers have a role and responsibility, and I think this government does not understand that men should have equal, and particularly fathers, that their rights, they should be valued in our society. It is almost as if, okay, well, let's just throw something in there for them. We're going to restructure the bill. Let's just give them a little 3 weeks.
Mhm.
3 weeks as
Patronizing.
a new parent. A
Mhm.
father is a parent, and we need to look at parental rights.
Mhm.
And I think what it has done, it diminishes the role of men in our society.
Yes.
And I think when we look at the ratio of men and women in parliament, what does it say? Does the right of men, is it undermined?
Mhm.
Is it not valued? And I think the men in parliament, they should be ashamed of themselves if they have allowed such a bill to be passed and not
Not
realize
protest.
that their rights are being diminished, their
Yes.
rights are not being valued. And I need to say that. I need to say that if we are going to think about gender equality, we have to give men the respect
Mhm.
and gratitude that is needed. They are parents, they are equal parents.
Yes.
And it is sanctioned by God.
Yes.
God does not determine that the mother has more rights than the father. No,
Mhm.
they are both parents.
Yes.
And I think if the mother gets 14 weeks, the father should at least get 10 weeks.
Yes.
If you want,
Yes.
but not 3 weeks. It's
Putting
disrespectful.
the kids for the men. Well, Damien is rearing and ready to offer his view.
I want to say thank you very much, Felicia. As somebody who subscribe to Menace Views and probably all those other men who are in men advocacy groups who
Mhm.
who say that men are marginalized in society. I appreciate to hear a woman come out and advocate for men, especially in their paternal rights,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it is poetically beautiful
Mhm.
to hear a woman, especially come out and say that men,
Advocating for men.
in regards to the equality, in regards to this particular legislation, because yes, how can you say that yes, fathers now must take a a forward, a upfront role in raising their children,
Mhm.
but then yet diminish and marginalize
Mhm.
their active right to participate in the raising of their child.
Yes.
Because then I have, as an attorney at law, I
Mhm.
have a lot of men who come to me and they complain and they say that the laws of Barbados do not speak to their particular rights as
Mhm.
fathers.
Mhm.
And I have to go and try to advocate on their behalf to try and show them that, well, listen, yes, you might feel that way,
Yes.
but the laws are changing.
Yes.
People are becoming more aware of their marginalization in the law
Mhm.
and in their advocacy of that law. To then come now and put this legislation before Parliament
Yeah.
and say, well, fathers only deserve 3 weeks. And then if the mother dies or
Mhm.
feels or is sick or incapacitated,
Mhm.
you get an additional 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That is wrong. You are marginalizing men
Yeah.
in the life and the role as fathers in their children's lives, and that is wrong, because you cannot expect that, especially now we are in a society where they're saying that crime is on the rise.
Mhm.
Where are the fathers?
Yes.
We need men to come forward and be present in these young men's lives and be great examples for them to follow. Moreover, there was a sense and argument saying that we need more male teachers in school
Yeah.
because we need more role models for these children to follow.
Mhm.
But then yet you say one thing, but then
You do
legislate
something else. Yes.
legislate something else.
Yeah.
So then what are you saying? You can't expect to come and put one message out, but then your action speaks counter to that.
Mhm.
And men need to be represented, especially in legislation today,
Yes.
because there are men who feel marginalized and they
Mhm.
feel as though that while they are trying to show up for
Mhm.
their children,
Mhm.
the legislation knocks them down.
Yeah.
So that is something that I appreciate my
Coming
fellow
from
comrade
Felicia.
for.
Well, the legislation, according to Felicia, puts the men to disadvantage.
Mhm.
But as I said, it disadvantages both. It criminalizes both of them,
Yes.
and it renders pregnancy. And I want to be the voice, well, not only for both, but for the women here. A woman goes through pregnancy, and that pregnancy becomes reduced to a commercial bargain between her and her employer, and she must be persuading her employer that she became pregnant while she was in his employment. That's what it says, uh, and that is dehumanizing. It's degrading. It's demeaning. But I don't want to speak for you, Melissa. What's your view?
Pregnancy is a God-given right,
Mhm.
and we all have the right to make the decision of when we want to get pregnant, when we want to give birth.
Precisely.
I remember when this bill was brought in the House,
Mhm.
members on the other side was patting themselves on the back and making noise on the table like they
Indeed.
were bringing something
Indeed. Yes.
to the public. Now, the previous piece of legislation did not have any area in it for men to have paternity leave.
Right.
So this current one gives 3 weeks,
Mhm.
but we're still behind when it comes to other countries.
Mhm.
There's
Tell
a
us.
place in Canada.
Yes.
They have a standard where 40 weeks.
40.
40 weeks.
I did say that your research is always excellent.
40
Tell us,
weeks
please.
is given to the male when he's having a child.
40.
And the maximum amount of time is 69 weeks.
Mm,
So this is so 3 weeks compared to that. Very
it's
off.
nothing. Mhm.
As a woman, I've given birth.
Mhm.
So I know the things that women go through after pregnancy.
Mhm.
These 6 weeks, even in a matter of 6 weeks, you have a doctor visit after.
6 weeks.
6 weeks, yeah.
Mhm.
You're still in a lot of pain. You have problems walking. So you need your partner there for you at that
Mhm.
period of time. So
Mhm.
3 weeks of being available to the meal is definitely not
Yeah.
enough.
Yes.
So your first visit back to the doctor is within 6 weeks. So I would say, like Andrea said, 6 months is adequate time for a meal to be given time off from work.
Now, if we're asking for more favorable legislation or more favorable stipulation out of compassion and care, it seems to me then that if we're disadvantaging both men and women, both parties to this both parents to this pregnancy and birth, who is the winner? There's somebody for whom this legislation has been passed. If we are saying it's not the mother, it's not the father, there's a third party in this,
The employer.
the employer.
It's
Yeah.
definitely the employer, because that is the reason why I believe that we have been so soft in
Mhm.
terms of going the extra mile to
Yes.
give the father leave that is really beneficial.
Mhm.
Because 3 weeks is not enough
Mhm.
for a father. And the way they have it claused as well, 3 weeks and 2 weeks in the first instance,
Yeah.
immediately after the pregnancy, and then they can come back have another week later.
Mhm.
That is not enough, because nowadays parents want to spend that first year with their child.
Mhm.
And I would say that even if you had to look at the possibility of giving the father 6 months, they don't have to take the entire 6 months together with the mother.
Mhm.
Take some time, because in the initial stages, the mother would need that assistance from the father.
Yes.
Because as Melissa said, you're still in pain, you have difficulty getting around, and then you have to get accustomed to the sleep cycle of baby, or the baby have to get accustomed to your sleep cycle.
And fathers never hear when babies cry at night, by the way.
Right, so those kind of things.
That's not true.
And
That's not true.
if you allow the father additional time, perhaps when the mother goes back to work, after her period of time, the father can then take additional time and
Mhm.
have that time to
Mhm.
bond with the child as well.
Mhm.
So, care for a child in the first year, if you don't have extended family that can take care of them, you have to send them to a nursery.
Mhm.
And most people try to avoid that and raise the child at home. So those things need to be taken into consideration. Again, when you come to the additional leave, section 8.2, a male employee who is eligible for paternity leave may extend that said leave beyond 3 weeks for an additional 3 weeks if the mother of the child dies
Mhm.
during confinement or immediately after confinement. So it seems as though we have a government that, okay, let me just give these people something.
So if the mom dies during the birth,
during birth.
he gets an additional
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
So to me, I would interpret that as a government that is saying, look, let me give these people something, but we're really
A little
serious about
something.
it.
Mhm.
We're not serious
3 weeks
about
to
it.
grieve.
But then that father has to care for the child.
Precisely.
So
Precisely.
if you wanted to do something, you would say, well, then the father should be entitled to the equivalent amount of maternity leave.
You know, Andre, they were obviously focusing on the period of grieving without recognizing that he then becomes the sole parent and ought to have had the extra time.
Right,
So these people are doing legislation and they're not thinking.
right. They're just, let me just put something over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But we're really serious about it.
Mhm,
And we
mhm.
know our heart is not in it.
Yes.
So we are not thinking through the situation. Like Felicia rightly said, all of the men on that side and the women who are in the Barbados Labour Party cabinet, these are things that they should have thought through.
Yes.
Did they actually discuss this legislation, or did it sound sexy to say, well, look, we are giving
the main.
maternity leave,
Mhm,
because that is a social catchphrase.
Yes.
But we are not really serious about it. quite frankly.
Precisely.
And that is obvious from the way how the legislation have been drafted, the amount of time that has been given, and also the penalties involved in the legislation.
You know, Melissa, look, we came here a few weeks ago and with Barbadians, we were saying, certainly in relation to the tourist accommodation bill, that it seems that the attack on the Airbnb sector is done as a means of protecting the large foreign hotel sector. And it seems that all of government's legislation has less to do with securing people's rights and more to do with protecting an elite group of persons. And in this case here, Melissa, we've said it seems that the employers have had greater influence in the passage of this legislation than mothers and fathers.
I totally agree with you. When you're talking about the Airbnb tourism legislation, I remember you advocated in Parliament
Mhm.
for more concessions
Yes.
for the Airbnb owners. And previous to that, you had government was willing to give concessions to villa
Villa
owners
owners, yes.
and hotel owners,
Yes.
and they were not willing to do the same for owners of the Airbnb.
Yes.
So with this piece of legislation and with the Airbnb, you had fines attached to it as well, up to
Yeah. Oh,
$10,000.
massive fines.
Yeah,
Airbnb,
Airbnb.
$250,000.
$250,000.
Yeah.
And so
Again, criminalizing the smaller person.
person that
every
can't afford
time.
to pay.
Precisely.
So you're asking a parent now, a mother who's
Mhm.
going through something as sacred as a pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
if she has a slight error in information that she
Mhm.
has provided,
Mhm.
she's being charged $10,000.
Mhm.
So, and the father
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah.
So we're penalizing persons who cannot afford to pay,
Mhm.
but we are awarding person that hasn't have money more concessions.
Correct. Correct. You know, Damien, it is saying, I hope I said it, but Damien, this is saying to people, or this is ordering the citizen to become pregnant at a certain time. People are having sex, but you can have the sex, but we want you. This legislation is telling you better become pregnant during that period of time when you are with this employer. And if you haven't become pregnant with him, don't apply for leave.
And the most nefarious thing about it is that when it comes to pregnancy, most women don't even know when they become pregnant. Because let's add another scenario to what Andre has said. Let's say you become pregnant before you have gained employment.
Mhm.
Some women don't even know that they're pregnant 12 weeks,
Mhm.
12 weeks into their pregnancy.
Mhm.
So you're pregnant about 3 months.
Mhm.
You start employment,
Mhm.
and then you realize coming into your employment that you're pregnant.
Mhm.
So then where does that leave you? That leaves you out to sea.
Mhm.
So then you cannot come and legislate a woman's body and tell her when she's to become
Yeah.
pregnant. Because the legislation seems to run counter not only to the biological and the medical needs of a woman,
Mhm.
but it seems to constrain them to say, well, listen, we do not care what happens with you. The employer is going to win out at the end of the day. So how can you then want to come and tell people we need more people we need a population,
Mhm.
we need the
Mhm.
population to grow.
Yeah.
But then yet you legislate against that.
I see Felicia making furious note. And I know Felicia is our human rights advocate. And I know that you're going to have something to say from a human rights perspective.
Yes, and that's what I've been saying, that we have a state that wishes to regulate the reproductive health of women.
Yes.
And I think that's what we need to say, and we have to ensure that the government recognizes what it's doing. You're regulating the reproductive health of women, and it is a violation of their rights. It's a violation of their reproductive rights. I think it's very invasive that any government or any employer needs to know when a woman gets pregnant or not. I think that clause in the bill should be removed immediately because
Yes.
it's too invasive for us. And I think it's against a woman's, it's your medical condition. That is
Mhm.
not something that you want to share with your employers as to exactly when you will conceive. That has absolutely nothing to do with your employer.
Mhm.
What my employer needs to know is that my taxes are being removed. And when I request my taxes, because this is what the benefits are,
Mhm.
that my taxes and my benefits are paid when the time is right. And I think something else that we really need to think about, and it always concerns me when the state wants to invade on those kinds of rights,
Mhm.
when it wants to police women's
Women's
bodies,
bodies, yes.
when it wants to police men's bodies as well,
Mhm.
because fathers need to be in the picture
Mhm.
when we have procreation, because you're also regulating the man's body as well.
Yes.
Because the pregnancy has to be done within a specific period of time, both male and female.
Mhm.
So if we don't have that, so you're regulating your citizens'
Mhm.
reproductive rights.
Yes.
But and that's something that we have. It's a fundamental question, and I'm very much concerned that women's rights and advocates have not tapped into this matter.
Yes.
This is a matter that violates not only employment rights, but fundamental rights to women. If we have the concern that women have the right to procreate at any given
At any
time,
time, yes.
the government does not have that right.
Mhm.
The government does not have the right to invade in those kinds of activities.
Mhm.
These are activities that are personal. You have the freedom and liberty, unless if you're in a different state of governance that we don't know about.
Mhm.
But as far as we know, in a democratic state, citizens have the right to freedom of liberty, to family. If you wish to have your family at any given time,
Mhm.
it is your God-given right. So now we have a government that plays that they're God to tell women and men when they should procreate. That's a very serious and deep-seated matter that we really need to look at. And I think another matter that I wanted to say, this is not a government that promotes family and parental rights.
Mhm.
There is no way you can promote family rights when you restrict families from engaging in acts that will continue to, have families, have children.
Mhm.
And if you find a government that tells you and regulates how much, basically they're telling you how many children you can have, if you think about it,
Or when you can have
and
them.
when you can have it.
Yes.
And this is a very dangerous legislation when you think very critically about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because what it does, it not only invades your privacy,
Mhm.
but it also wants to regulate when pregnancy can occur, which is very much what you're saying.
Yeah.
And if persons don't recognize that, what will happen very soon is that perhaps employers may start discriminating against certain members of the society.
Precisely.
So if you look like you're in your reproductive era,
Mhm.
chances are you may not be hired because
Yeah.
you might have more than one pregnancies and I may not be able to afford it.
Mhm.
So I think that's something else that we need to, the levels of discrimination that may exist
Mhm.
very soon if this legislation is passed.
Yeah.
I think that legislation should not be passed.
Mhm.
I think that legislation need to be pulled back,
Mhm.
and it has to be further investigated because there's certain clause
Mhm.
that will breach fundamental rights, that will
Mhm.
breach international laws in some cases. And of course, your right to procreate at any time. And I think persons that believe in the sanctity of life
Mhm.
need to speak up against this matter because I think the group of persons in parliament do not recognize that they do not have that sacred responsibility to reign over people's life
Yes.
in that
And their
form.
bodies.
And they don't have that right. They
Yes.
don't have that right. And I think we need to make it abundantly clear that this government do not have that right to infringe on citizens in that manner.
Damien, you're the lawyer on the panel.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to put you on the spot, but this legislation, without saying it, the legislation has created a difficulty for itself.
Yes, it has.
Because if the employer says, look, I don't think you became pregnant while you were in my employment, so I'm not granting you leave.
Mhm.
What happens? Does he fire the person? Does he refuse the grant of maternity leave? It doesn't say anything because I think Parliament itself, the government itself, recognize that it has created a problem.
Yes.
And the legislation makes no attempt to resolve that. Now let us tell the public, Damien, that whatever the employer does, whatever is his response, the lady will still get her NIS. But the legislation is disturbing the employment between, well, the relationship of employment between the employer and the employee. What does he do? Does he fire the lady? Does he say, look, you didn't become pregnant on my time? Or sorry, yes, you didn't become pregnant on my time, so I'm not giving you leave. What is this? You're the lawyer.
But see, now then that is the dichotomy of it all. No, so then the legislation is silent in those
It's
protections.
silent.
It's silent in those
Yes.
protections. Moreover, if you even look at Section 11,
Mhm.
it doesn't even provide protections even after leave.
Not even-
Precisely.
You're
It-
talking about section 9.
Sorry, Section 9. Section 9 doesn't even provide protections after leave.
Mhm.
So after
Mhm.
that, it says that you cannot dismiss the individual once they've gone on leave,
Mhm.
but during that period they're protected. But after the fact,
Mhm.
there's nothing saying that
That you cannot dismiss.
that you cannot be dismissed. So then there's so many dichotomies and loopholes for the
Yes.
employer. Then you have to
Yes.
tell yourself, who is this legislation for? Is the legislation for the employers only?
Clearly it's for the employer.
It's clearly for them because it cannot be for the mothers, and it's not definitely not for the fathers.
We would then want to advise the public to go to the Employment Rights Tribunal.
You should.
You
But
should.
then we would have to tell the public that the Employment Rights Tribunal has not sat for 2 or 3 years
Correct.
under a Minister of Labor who boasts about this legislation, under a Minister of Labor who's boasted about workers' rights in this country.
Mhm.
And there's several workers who have been dismissed, who claim that they have been unfairly dismissed, who have applied to the Employment Rights Tribunal. And for 2-3 years, Melissa, they have not had resolution in their dispute with their former employer.
Correct. Like you said, the tribunal has been closed for 2 or 3 years. So you have a lot of hearings out there that, a lot of cases that have
Yes.
not been heard
Yes.
by the tribunal.
Yeah.
But when it comes back to this piece of legislation, it does not cover the class of workers that are working on contract.
Correct.
This government, you said the labor minister,
Mhm.
this government is employing persons on contract basis.
Yes.
They're not contributing to the MAS.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be able to get maternity benefits.
Did not even think of that.
Correct.
Mhm.
So when you get pregnant,
Mhm.
even if you work for the 12 months,
Yes.
you're not entitled to benefit from MAS. That is a major problem in this piece of legislation.
So a lot of people are being thrown by the wayside, and at a time at a can I use the word delicate, Felicia? At a delicate time, pregnancy is a delicate time, or that sounds
You can
sexist to
say
you?
that. And I think
I can.
yes, and I
Okay.
think something that we have not discussed, the most important person in that scenario is the child.
It's the child. Yes.
And you have a government that speaks about children's rights, speaks about wanting to have a society that welcomes new Barbadians, and we want new Barbadians because we have an aging society.
Yes.
However, you put in restrictions on the parent in how they can care for that child, because primarily what maternity leave and paternity leave is about getting the benefits of the child is born, because you're not working,
Yes.
you're not at work,
Yes.
and so you get your salary while you're taking care of your offspring. And so if a government, that's what I'm saying, this is not a government that really cares about family. They speak about it. They have all these programs, one family and everything else, but how do you make the parents of that offspring so difficult and so challenging that they're not even going to get a good government, a caring government will say, well, I will help these parents.
Yeah.
Even though parents that are part-time or on short-term contract, let me give them a little something. Let me help them, because indirectly you're helping the parent, but you're helping the child. So you can imagine you have 2 parents that have no kind of financial assistance. So even if it's not the employer, why doesn't the government assist the employer?
Yes.
Meet them
Yes,
at some
indeed.
point
Yes, indeed.
and try to at least give them a tax break or something.
Yeah.
Because always keep in mind, the reason why you want to pass this bill is to help the child. It is the child at the end of the day that will gain whatever benefit. It's not really, yes, the mother and the father will get the benefits, but it's the child at the end of the day. How do I still have to buy and provide for that child
Yes.
during that period of time. And so you can imagine a parent that have never received those benefits. They haven't worked within that period of time. How are they going to take care of that child? And we have a government that speaks about family and wanting to be a society that moves into the 21st century and everything else, but you're not thinking about the main person, which is our offspring, our young Barbadians that are coming into this world that will help us. And you are refusing to give the parents the kinds of benefits that is. You're actually restricting them from gaining the benefits. But at the same time, I'm sure those parents, whether they work 6 months or 7 or 12 months, they pay taxes because the employers would still take taxes from them.
Yes. Yes.
So why can't they be given the kind of benefits that is necessary? And I think that is what we need to really touch on, the rights of the child, the rights of the child that will be brought into this world.
Andre, what manner of legislator, though, will sit down and, I mean, okay, somebody misinforms as to the date. And Damien was telling us that sometimes, or in several cases, I would think, difficult to name dates of pregnancy and so on. But what kind of parliament then decides that this is something for the police? That a woman has gone on maternity leave. Maybe she's had a good birth, bad birth, whatever. And then somebody says to her, look, you gave me misinformation. You should not have had that leave from me. And all of a sudden it becomes a police matter. And all of a sudden, just after birth, postnatal care is what people are expecting. This is postnatal prosecution. What kind of government thinks and thinks of that?
multi-government.
Barbados Labour Party government led by nothing. Because this is not the first situation where this government has attempted to penalize law-abiding citizens.
Yes.
We go back to the tent legislation,
Precisely.
which
They're
penalized-
consistent, Andre.
Exactly.
They're consistent.
So it seems as though, as people have said before, they're too Barbados.
Hmm.
Because there are a certain category of women who will not fall victim to this legislation,
Hmm.
who would be allowed to take maternity leave at any time.
Yes, of course.
The husband will be happy to know that she's
Hmm.
pregnant
Hmm.
and take maternity leave at any time.
He
But-
might own the company.
Exactly. But the child that comes from, I don't want to call any areas,
Don't call the
but
areas.
certain areas
Mhm.
that has a job, an entry-level job as maybe a janitor in the company, a maid, a cashier.
Yes.
You think that you know better for them than they know for themselves. That is
Yeah.
exactly
As
what
Felicia
this-
said, you can police their bodies.
Exactly. That is exactly what this legislation is saying.
Yes.
That you know better for them
Yes.
than you know for yourself.
Yes.
And we also need to have employers stop looking at their bottom line
Hmm.
and start having social responsibility. Because no employer has that right or should feel comfortable
Hmm.
being able to say to their employees, look, you just come here, you should not be pregnant, and
Right,
you should
precisely.
not have maternity leave. Or in cases where it happens already, saying to some young people who become pregnant while they're on probation,
Hmm.
because some young people lose their jobs on probation
Yes.
if they become pregnant.
Yes.
They're not going to say it's a result of the pregnancy,
Mhm.
but they will find some other excuse to say, well, look, you have not satisfactorily completed the probationary period
Mhm.
and you lose your job.
Mhm.
Any employer like that should be ashamed. And so I think it is on the Barbados Labour Party government that seem to think that they have the absolute control and authority over people.
Yes.
They look at legislation and, as you call them, the walk back government.
Hmm.
They bring legislation, they rush it through parliament because this is big points on the world stage to
Mhm.
say that Barbados is offering paternity leave. I think UK recently started or offers paternity leave.
Yes.
Canada, as Melissa said. So I don't know if US offers paternity leave, but Russia, so we are now trying to put Barbados in that level by saying we look, we doing it too.
But have those countries, Andre, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but have those countries imposed or inserted criminal sanctions within this legislation?
No, they have not.
And we're doing it. And we don't want to appear to be dramatizing it.
Correct.
But here you can have Melissa, a lady who just delivered, and you go in the magistrate's court one morning and she's in there sitting on the bench. Yeah. You know, they
Yeah.
put all the accused on the bench, the murder accused, the rape accused, people who break in people's houses, and she in there sitting down with them.
Sorry,
Haven't had a child abuse. Don't laugh.
Yeah, I don't
Haven't
mean
had
to
a
laugh.
have yes, I've seen it in the
Yeah.
magistrate's court. They all sit down there on the bench,
Mhm.
and a lady who just delivered a child, and when the lawyer comes or a friend, what's she doing in there? Oh, she just had a child and she gave wrong information.
This is a
And
sad
this is
situation.
the kind of government that we have.
Yeah. After you give birth as a female,
Mhm.
there are some instances where females go into depression.
Postpartum.
So-
Postnatal depression.
Yeah, postnatal depression.
Mhm.
You have the extra burden of having to care for yourself, care for the child, provide meals for yourself, provide, the baby's crying at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. This is a time where you're dealing with a lot. So now to come and be penalized, criminalized
Mhm.
for something as sacred as birth,
Yes.
this is something that the government should be ashamed about, and something that the public should demand that this legislation should be repealed, as Felicia said.
That was my next question to you. Should we, as a Democratic Labour Party, be asking the government to withdraw, if not the entire legislation? I mean, it is noble to give paternity leave, but certainly to criminalize,
It has to be revisited.
revisit it.
And this clause-
Yeah,
Yours is a
the
A
bill,
more neutral term. You want it revisited?
I need it.
Melissa wants it recalled.
Well, if it has to be revisited, because we can all agree, as we said before, that men and women have that right as parents, that we
Mhm.
have equal rights. We just need it to be revisited where we have persons that are honest and understand the humanity in our citizens. I think that's what we need to do. Look at the humanity in a father, look at the humanity in a mother. Why would you want a mother to be criminalized
Mhm.
because she did not identify the exact day of her conception? These are the kinds of matters I think that we need to look at this government. We also have to take in consideration, like our colleague has said here, the mental state
Mhm.
of not just the mother but the father. You can imagine new parents. Some of them, they go for a transition. A mother, there are times young women and older women or women themselves,
Mhm.
we go for a period of time. Yes, there's anxiety, there's everything. Yes, you're overwhelmed and you're joy, but there are other emotions that are taking place, as well as the father. We could never forget the roles of fathers and what they go through. Men don't get the opportunity to speak, and because of this government that have men on their side that don't speak, they only speak when they need to rebuttal something that you say in Parliament,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
totally nonsense sometimes. They don't get the opportunity to speak the real issues that our males are facing, our brothers, our fathers are facing in this society.
Mhm.
Some young men, we see that all the time, young men being fathers for the very first time in their early 20s. How do they respond to that?
Mhm.
And then we are going to say that they could only take time, take a couple of weeks and then go back. No, they deserve the same amount of time within the same space of time. And what it tells me, I was listening to the conversation. If this bill goes through, what you'll find is now employers will have a list as to when the employers can get pregnant. So you get
Yeah,
pregnant
yeah.
in July, you go in June. So it's basically that's what it's saying.
Mhm.
That they will now start policing them. Perhaps they might have a rule.
The
where
employer
they
will start to
yes,
police
will
the
start
yeah,
policing and
young
telling
women.
and men will tell, okay, well, this is the times that you are permitted to be pregnant.
Mhm. Yeah, they might say that
They might start doing that
because
they
this
do not,
legislation
because
encourages
that's
them
what
to do
it's
it.
doing, because it's telling persons, as I said before, it's invasive in a way that it's going into people's rooms and dictating that these are the times that you should be allowed to become pregnant within my space, within 12. And it's very important, as you said, why 12 months?
Yeah.
I would have wished the 12 months was actually for the leave and not to restrict persons
Yes, to become
within that timeline.
Yes,
So I think
yes.
there's a number, and as I said before, we're not surprised that this 40 government, this is what they've done. We're not surprised. The population should not be surprised. They have never been a current government. There have never been a government that actually thinks through about the legislations that they attempt to pass. And so when we see those types of legislations, we know exactly what propelled them. It's not humanistic. It seems to want to criminalize citizens and a particular group of citizens. The reasons why I say a particular part of citizens,
We know
because
who this is targeting,
because
Felicia.
in
We know who it
certain
is
parts
targeting.
of this legislation, the mother has to identify the father. I mean, it also means that couples that are not married,
Yes, yes, yes.
they would be targeted.
Mhm.
Because in marriage, it's the father,
Yeah,
regardless
yeah,
if it's the
yeah,
father,
yeah.
and that's something that we need
That's
to
a
look at.
presumption. Yeah, that's the husband is the father.
The husband.
Yeah.
But
Stop
in
laughing,
such
Melissa.
cases, we're seeing that single parents, unmarried couples, they will be targeted, and I think we need to seriously look at this matter.
You know, Felicia, listening to you just now, this creates tensions, Damien, at the workplace
Yes, it does.
unnecessarily.
Mhm.
And we're not being facetious here. You might find somebody in the company assigned to be looking at women bellies when they come for the interview. And they go back in the boardroom, she look pregnant to you. Because if she's pregnant, she's not getting this job. Felicia, Melissa, why are you laughing?
They already happen.
No, I don't mind you laughing because, this legislation, if it were not so tragic, it would be laughable. Yeah, tensions at the workplace.
Tensions and opens the door for discrimination as you come through the door.
Precisely.
And then on the
Precisely.
same sense, I think I'm with the notion that it must be revisited.
Must be revisited.
It must be revisited because there are too many sections in this
Melissa is saying
legislation.
recalled,
Recall?
revisited.
It hasn't gone through,
It hasn't gone through the Senate.
getting many any
Well,
legislation.
remember with the telecommunications,
Mhm.
they amended in Parliament before it got to the Senate.
Yeah.
So there's time and room for this to be revisited,
I think that
recalled.
we definitely need to take a look back at Section 4 and Section 5 that speaks of the contract duration, which
Mhm,
speaks about the year.
mhm.
Section 11 has to go all together. That's
Yes.
the criminalization.
Mhm.
Yes.
Section 9,
Section 11.
yeah,
Yes.
Section 9 offers no protection after the leave.
But Damien, well, panel,
Mhm.
um, a minister of labor brought this in Parliament. And this is not a personal attack. Look, I don't do personal attack in Parliament. But where's the trade union? Where are the trade unions, Felicia Dujon? There's a trade unionist in there.
She's the one.
Well,
I want to add that, and the minister who is Minister of Labor is also a Minister of Religion, isn't it? So
All right.
all of that should have.
Yeah.
I just want
Okay,
to
leave
add-
that one.
I
Leave
will
that one.
add that because I think
Yes.
it's relevant to the fact that you have.
We're not going to be like them.
We
His conscience will
it's an
punish him.
immoral act.
It
It
is
is an
immoral.
immoral
It
act
is immoral.
to want to regulate, as I said before, want to regulate something that is innate and is natural,
Mhm.
biologically natural.
But the unions.
Yes.
Where are the trade unions, Andre Worrell?
Right, definitely, you should have heard not only from the trade unions, but the national organization as well.
Yes.
On
Yes.
these issues.
I think a lot of people, Andre, are not aware that this came
Yeah.
to Parliament.
I think that in the National Organization of Women, they did make a statement.
They did?
favor of the paternity leave. But
Excellent.
then delving deeper into the
Mm-hmm.
legislation, I don't think that was done. And that is one of the failings of this government.
Well, we will bring it to their attention.
Yeah.
They do not explain legislation.
Oh, they don't.
And the legislation is often not out long enough for people to actually give input.
Yes.
And it also seems they do not seek input from interest groups
Mhm.
when
Mhm.
drafting legislation. So
Yes.
it just seems as though the legislation is drafted in a vacuum,
Mhm.
and then it comes, and that's where you have all of these problems.
Yes.
If the
It's been a hell of a year with legislation.
exactly, if the one for Airbnb
Mhm.
had gone to the Intimate Hotels of Barbados
Mhm.
for input,
Yes.
a lot of those things would not be.
Mhm.
Right, to the
Mhm.
persons who operate Airbnb, a lot of those things would not have gone to Parliament and been there. And it seems as though the only person that this government is concerned about are the employers.
Mhm.
I guess you can say he who pays the agriculture too. And that is the reason why you are finding so many issues with legislation, because they're one-sided.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then when it comes to the people realize, well, I'm not representing this.
Yes.
And that is where you have the drawback.
Yes.
And then they have to walk back the legislation
Mhm.
and,
Walk back or drag back.
drag back the legislation
Mhm.
at 11 o'clock or something like
That's
something like that. And blame the people
Yeah.
for not understanding or accepting. You are supposed to be open, you're supposed to be communicating. If you have people on board with you, you will not make so many mistakes. I want to say that a Democratic Party government
Yes.
will do better by the people of
Yes.
Barbados in terms of legislation. You need a government that has the interest of the people at heart.
That
And that
cares.
is the Democratic Labour Party government on power.
Thank you very much. They're sending me to the board. Jonathan B.
Yeah.
Melissa's your eyes, those young eyes you have there.
Right, we have a comment from Jonathan B. Employers might soon start sending female applicants for medicals as part of the hiring process.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds like Nazism.
Yeah, but
Send your employees for medicals.
we should probably let the viewers know that in section 4,
Please read it.
grant of maternity leave to employees, subject to subsection 3. Every female employee, in addition to her annual holiday under the Holidays with Pay Act, is entitled to maternity leave upon delivering to her employer. And then it goes on to say a certificate issued by a medical practitioner setting forth the expected date of her confinement,
Mhm.
or a certificate issued by a medical practitioner or a midwife
Mhm.
setting forth the actual date of her confinement, which means that this legislation is also asking the mother
Mhm.
to send in, like the comment said,
Medical
a
information.
medical, yeah, medical
which
information.
is supposed to be confidential.
Which is right
You have a
in
lawyer
business.
there to your right, and he's appalled.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the lady now has to go to her doctor when she's applying for leave and produce something from her doctor saying, "Look, I am pregnant. I'm certifying her pregnancy, and I'm certifying the date of her pregnancy."
Yeah.
That is so. You use the word invasive.
It is,
A government
but
would
it's-
really sit down, Felicia, and do this.
It is important to some extent that the employers know when the mother has to go on leave. It is important.
Yeah, but they have to know when she became pregnant too.
No. To a certain extent, no. And that's where I'm saying that the government has removed its responsibility and handed it over to the employer. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because initially what have happened is that your report goes to NIS and
Yes.
then it would go to your employer. But that kind of information would not. They would have just notified them that your employer is going on leave and you just have to make provisions. And I think the government paid the benefits. So what we're seeing now is the government avoiding their responsibility. But then again, we have a lazy government that does not do its work. So that is expected. But what the reality is that when they make such draconian laws,
That's the word I was looking for.
it affects citizens.
Yeah.
It affects the average citizen. It affects the brothers and the sisters, the mothers and the fathers that are just trying to make a living and try to contribute to this country. And then you're looking to criminalize them. They try to raise children in this country. They try to bring children into this country to help our own society. And this is what you're doing to them. And I think every Barbadian needs to understand it may not affect you. It may affect your grandchildren. It may affect your children who are planning to give you grandchildren. So these are the realities that we need to look at, that we're in a society, we're in with a government that is anti-family.
Yes.
And
Yes.
anti-parents. We've seen that before with the child justice bill. We've seen this, the child protection bill. We've seen that. We've seen that there is a pattern of behavior from this government.
Yes.
And we're seeing how they're not only that they're invasive, but they seem to have that kind of belief that I reign over you. And now I'm trying to reign over your bodies and police your bodies. And I think that's something that we really need to look into.
We could discuss this for another 3 hours. You want to say something, Andre?
This one category though, because it reads, a female employee shall, in order to qualify for a grant of maternity leave, be employed for at least 12 months in continuous employment by the employer for whom she requests such leave. Now remember that we have a situation here.
From whom she requests such leave.
There.
Yes.
We have a situation here where this government itself has a number of persons who they say are contract workers.
Yes. Yes. Melissa was talking about that.
Where they do not pay national insurance for them. So if you have a woman
And they're week on, week off.
week on, week off.
Yes.
So how are those women going to qualify for maternity leave? And if a woman who is working NCC, week off, or Sports Council, week on, and they're not paying NAS for that person, how do they qualify for maternity leave and the father qualify for maternity leave?
Yes.
And the government needs to answer that question.
Yes.
They should not be doing it in the first place, and they need to rectify that. You have far too many people in Barbados who are employed by the government is not paying NIS for them. And then even if those said persons go to the NIS and try to register as a self-employed person, NIS do not allow them to register because in truth and in fact, they are not self-employed. So the government needs to fix that situation. So this legislation, the one employer that you can say that this legislation is probably protected is the
state government, yeah.
With the same people that they are manipulating and abusing with this because situation and not paying national insurance for it.
Well, we can close this aspect of the discussion by reminding the public, one, that we support paternity leave, but that this legislation is so offensive that it seems to focus on the interests of the employers above the right of parents, mothers and fathers, that the interests of the employers seem to rank paramount to those sacred rights of parents. We had promised to go on to look at welfare, the welfare system generally. And I want to introduce that unabashedly by reminding this panel as to what Mr. Abeid said. He went public, he said it public, in a public place, he said it in a public space, he said it on the media. So I don't think he can object to having his name called here. And he told this country a few weeks ago that the people who are helpless, financially helpless, the numbers seem to be increasing. And I'm sorry, he then referred to government's official figures as to the buoyancy of the economy, as to employment, as to people's incomes. He was challenging that. And I introduced the topic of welfare based on that statement that Mr. Abeid made. It must be then, based on his statement, and he should know, he's in a retail operation, and he is seeing it. He's on the front line. Is there a case, and look, let me also say that this government is spending lots of money. There's no doubt about that. We talked about Carrie Festa in here last week. So this government is spending millions of dollars on its event and on itself, because the Prime Minister admitted that she is now close, well, she must now be over 100 trips within her short period as Prime Minister. So here you have a government spending lavishly and spending recklessly. And here you have Mr. Abeid saying that a lot of people out there are suffering. What is this saying about our welfare system? Is our welfare system well funded? That Mr. Abeid has to be saying that a lot of people out there are begging. Is the welfare system adequately funded, ladies and gentlemen?
I would say no. He's not the only person that has been crying out publicly about the extra need for assistance for persons of a certain bracket.
Yes.
There are many charitable institutions in Barbados that has been stating publicly that many individuals have been reaching out to them for assistance. You're seeing more and more persons around the back to school time asking for assistance for their children, for clothing,
Yes.
stationery, shoes, etc. Bikes. I've heard stories of many individuals who are accustomed getting help from the welfare, who applied for back to school assistance because there's something called back to school assistance from the welfare.
Yes.
And up to now, they have not received it
From the welfare
from the
department.
welfare. So this is probably the second year this has happened, where persons have been requesting assistance from the welfare department and they're not receiving the assistance. So you're saying about back to school, there's something also called, they usually give out certificates to the supermarket.
The vouchers?
The vouchers. And they send out checks as well for persons who need assistance for the supermarket bill. And they have not been receiving that extra assistance as well. You see persons who have, like a single parent who have 4 children.
Yes.
They're only receiving a check per month of $400
Per month.
per month. So how far can
$400 per month?
Yeah.
$25 a week.
Yeah. How far can that take you? And you have to send school the
To
children.
the bus stop, I
You have to
suppose.
feed them. You have to clothe them. You have to look for housing. So the welfare department is definitely underfunded. And
While the government is overfunded.
Trips. We're spending millions
You're
and
in
millions and
Ethiopia.
millions. Yeah. in
Yeah.
trips.
Andre, the government recently, to use one of their favorite words, streamlined all the welfare agencies. They came to Parliament. I didn't make much of a fuss. They're streamlining it. If it creates greater efficiencies, fine. But the proof of the pudding, as you know, is in the eating. You have a view on this consolidation of all of the welfare agencies into one?
Well, one, it should lend to a better service with the agency being in one place.
Yes.
So because someone who's on welfare, the agencies that are included, Child Care Board,
Yes.
National Assistance Board,
Yes.
Welfare Department, may not remember all of them.
But those are the 3 main ones: welfare, NAB, and child care.
Right.
Yeah.
oftentimes you find that persons in those situations, you will need assistance from all of those agencies.
Right.
So instead of you having to go running around the
Yes.
place,
Yes.
your information is in one, but
Mhm.
perhaps one social worker can access the assistance that you need because you may have children that need assistance.
Yes.
You may have an elderly person that needs assistance where the National Assistance Board would come in. And so in general, it should be useful
Yes.
so that you wouldn't have people operating in silos and you have the money to spend more efficiently.
Right.
What we need to pay close attention to, though, is this amalgamation. The legacy agencies, the persons who are currently employed with those agencies should not lose any of their conditions of service.
Right.
So what I'm saying, the government should not use this as an opportunity to say, well, look, if you're working at the child care board, we're offering you a new contract with this social empowerment agency. We're going to pay you out for your time in child care board and you start fresh. That is wrong.
Okay.
Because then they will use that as a backdoor opportunity to put those persons on contract, just as they did with the Sports Council, just as they did with CBC,
Yes.
just as they did with Transport Board, and that is wrong.
Okay.
Because you have persons who would have been working at these agencies for over 25 years, close to retirement, and then tell them that they are on contract. And if you put someone on contract at that stage, you can't go to a bank to get a mortgage. You can't go to court to get a loan. So you are changing their condition of service. What needs to be done is that you transfer them, you maintain their condition of service and their years within the various entities. And the unions need to stick up for that for the employers. They should never have allowed it to happen at CBC. They should never have allowed it to happen at the Sports Council. They should never have allowed it to happen in any of the agencies because persons are suffering.
Yes.
And this may be the reason why you have more people now calling welfare.
Right.
Because persons no longer have decent work. Because if you are working on contract, obviously, if I was working $5,000, because of my length of time, because of salary increases over the years, my salary was $5,000. And you started back on a contract, pay me to start back on a contract. I'm not going to start back at $5,000. I will probably start back at the lower end of the scale at $3,000. So how am I going to use $3,000 to pay for the expenses that I have become accustomed
to that $5,000? Yes.
So that is why you have more working poor that will need to go to the welfare department for assistance. I will come back again on this because I also think that the welfare department needs to adjust the level of service given the high cost of living.
All right, you have looked at the institution itself. Felicia, Dujon likes to look at the children. Andre has looked at the problems that may confront the staff and with their movement into a more streamlined organization. But Felicia, the evidence seems to be out there, or the evidence is out there, not seems to be, the evidence is out there that a lot of people are suffering. And I know you're a mother, and no parent can live with the suffering of a child. How do you live with it? I was driving the street yesterday and I saw a little fella. I'd heard of it. First time I ever saw it. A little fella was walking to school drinking his soft drink. And Dr. Wickham told us a few weeks ago in here that is not good. And he's filling a space in his tummy at 7:30 in the morning with a soft drink. Where are the children in relation to this suffering that is taking place in Barbados? They don't want to hear it. It hurts them to hear it. But we have to shout it at them because every week 2 ministers are out of this country on first class. And if they're not in first class, the prime minister is on a charter jet. And Barbadians must register protest. We cannot live in a country in which children continue to suffer while the government lives opulent lives. While you're in Ethiopia at the opening of a dam,
It's the
Precisely.
reality. It's the reality of what and I was hoping you would not have used the word streamlined because I would say we need to follow that stream. Some money is going down that stream that we're not finding.
Is there evidence
we
of
need to
children in
find
this
it.
country suffering?
We have, and that's one of the conversations because I get so emotional when I talk about it. So
Okay, I'm going to leave
but
you
I
on
wanna
that and go to
share-
somebody
But I
else.
do want to share.
Yes,
I do want
please.
to share because I think it's important that we share that.
Mhm.
That the minister responsible for people empowerment was also one of those who came out and said that they were getting more clients.
He said that.
Yes.
He admitted that.
And
And he is.
also,
So
the
why doesn't he
homeless-
tell this to the prime
and
minister?
also the homeless shelter. The
Yes.
person responsible for the
We're going to
homeless
talk
shelter
about that homeless shelter
is also
in a few
telling us
minutes.
that more persons are coming for assistance,
Mhm.
which tells us that if more citizens are coming for the assistance from the state, it means that the state is not recognizing that there's a problem with the welfare of citizens, or it's either they're not aware or
Mhm.
they're too busy globetrotting that they don't recognize that people are suffering here.
Mhm.
I want to share that. I
Is
want to
anybody
share-
denying this in Barbados?
I think people are recognizing that what the truth is. You can't. Something about the truth is that you can't hide it.
Mhm.
It will reveal itself eventually. Not too long ago, sometime last year, someone sent me a video where children, young men, in the garbage by a KFC. I will not see what location.
No.
And they told me that they thought it was, things played around when they recognized it was children.
Really?
Young people.
Children at the garbage?
Yeah. I want to say this.
By a
this
KFC?
evening. I want to say
Well,
this.
let's say a fast food
I
place.
want to say that.
Mhm.
I want to say that the realities of citizens is what it is. It's
Mhm.
not a myth.
Mhm.
It is the realities, and it's not an illusion.
Mhm.
Because what this government has been trying to sell to citizens and to the global society is that everything is good and he could do it.
The
But
word,
it's
the
not.
words Felicia they're using
It's
is
not.
buoyant. The
It's
economy
not.
is buoyant.
No, it's an illusion. They're selling an illusion. But the people on the
You want to
ground,
use that big word? It's a lie.
it's it's an illusion that they're selling, and that's the Barbados Labour Party has always done that. They sell an illusion,
Mhm.
but the people recognize the realities. When you go to the supermarket, that's your reality. It's
Yes.
not an illusion.
Yes.
When you go to the gas station, it is not an illusion.
Mhm.
When it's time for you to buy school books and uniforms for your children, it's not an illusion.
Mhm.
What Mr. Abedi said, it's the truth. It's the
the truth.
reality.
Yes.
And I thank him for being an honest citizen and letting people know that
Excellent.
this is what it is.
Mhm.
Because when you do that, you stand with the people
Mhm.
and you allow the government to know that they are on the wrong side of history.
Mhm.
They are not doing right by citizens. And the Democratic Labour Party will continue to put its policy to ensure that we have the breakfast program for our children, that we ensure that we have to provide parents with uniforms or whatever that is needed, transportation systems.
Mhm.
When you have a government that overtaxes its citizens, this is what you see.
Mhm.
We have a government that tax people for sewage tax. We have a government that has told us they would have removed the VAT.
Mhm.
They would have decreased the VAT to 15%. Where is this government? On a plane.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I
this
want.
is the reality. They're selling an illusion because they don't live there.
I want to ask Damien. Damien, how does a man who is experiencing hunger, I mean hunger, real hunger, as are a lot of people in Barbados, how does he relate to this a Carifesta event? No apologies now. To a Carifesta event in which a government is refusing to tell the people of this country how much money they've spent on 10 days of festivity, merely to show off to our Caribbean neighbors that our economy is buoyant, that we're rich, that we have a lot of money, and they're not telling Bajans how much money they spent. And yet there are a lot of Barbadians in this country who will go to bed tonight without a meal. There are children tomorrow who will wake up without breakfast. How are those people supposed to relate to this opulence, to this spending, to this overspending, and the failure to account? How must they relate to it? We can come here and talk about it. We can come here and talk about it. We can come here and advocate for justice. But I want you to tell the public, Damien, how do those children and the parents of those children relate to that?
But what I can tell you is that that creates an apathetic society.
Apathetic.
Yeah, a society that has
They just give up.
that has divorced themselves from society itself. there is more in the mortar than there is the pestle.
Yes.
How can you come and hope this X amount of growth, this X amount of
Growth.
unemployment? Yeah.
Mhm.
But yet there are people who are literally seeking assistance, and that number of people are growing. But then you want to come and project this, as you say, this opulent growth
Yeah.
to the people on the outside in regards to how Barbados is performing economically.
Yes.
Something is fundamentally wrong, because there are people in their government, people that works with them, that are telling them no,
Mhm.
something is wrong.
Yes.
The MP for, I think it's St. James South,
Mhm.
she said herself that even when it comes to elderly care,
Mhm.
those things are even becoming more expensive,
Yes.
and they're finding it hard to provide those things for those individuals who need that care.
Mhm.
So then, how do you then come and reconcile that with a society that you're saying everything is all good? Just come to a gathering and you good.
Mhm.
Don't worry about
Mhm.
what you can
Yes.
eat tomorrow, what you can
Yes.
eat, the
Yes.
next day. Come to a gathering and
And
everything can be
everything
all
is
right.
fine.
Carry Festival was 10 days, and up till now, we
Mhm.
don't even know how much was spent.
Millions on top of millions.
Millions on top of millions, but then yet you're going to probably then still jump on a jet to fly out to borrow another 100 million to do something
Mhm.
that we don't even see the results of.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
then you then create an apathetic society that divorces itself from reality.
Mhm.
And then you put yourself in a situation where those predictors,
Mhm.
those predictors that lead to crime,
Yes.
that lead to people burdening the welfare system,
Mhm.
it then takes society down a very devolving path.
Mhm.
So this government doesn't know what it's doing.
Melissa, I asked Damien, how do the suffering relate to a government that is overspending on itself? That's a difficult question for you. How does a government that is overspending on itself seriously and genuinely relate to people? Do they come and smile in their face, as Damien said? Do they come and do we gathering? How does a government come to people? What do they say?
I would say this, they don't really say anything much. You said regarding
Mhm.
this government, they spend on themselves, and they come and distract the individuals of society.
Distract with what?
Distract with regathering,
Yes.
distract with betting,
Mhm.
distract with the Prime Minister's Cup football tournament.
Yeah. To
They
use Felicia's word, illusions.
Yeah, illusion.
Illusions of happiness.
Correct. So you're constantly in a so-called happy mood,
Yes.
and you're not thinking about the things that are really going on around you. If you're caught up drinking alcohol, some people smoking,
Mhm.
you're at a football game,
Mhm.
music around.
Diversion,
So
distraction.
you're relaxing yourself,
Mhm.
and your reality isn't really kicking in.
Mhm.
So you're constantly distracted,
Yes.
and
Some
you're
people
not,
fall victim to this distraction.
of course.
They do?
Yeah.
It works then.
It works.
Oh.
You're not paying attention to the things that you're really supposed to be paying attention
Yes.
to.
Yes.
So even though these things and these some of these events are free as well.
Ah, yes.
So you're not
Yes.
paying.
You're not
nothing
burdened
is
at the turnstile.
nothing is leaving your pocket.
Right. Right.
So you go, you enjoy yourself, you go back home, and then you realize, wait, I have nothing in fridge to eat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't find anything for my child to eat.
Right.
I don't have any money to pay for bus fare.
Mhm.
If I have a car, I don't have any money to put gas in the vehicle. So reality then kicks back in, but then you're distracted by the next evening.
I was about to ask you what
Yeah.
happens when these realities hit you.
You're distracted again by the next evening.
By the next
with
evening.
karaoke.
I see.
There's karaoke
Yeah, I
going
think
on.
they're doing a karaoke competition now.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
this karaoke competition is all over the island, different
Yes.
constituencies.
Leading up to their annual conference.
Correct.
At
So
the end
there's
of October.
always something going on to
Yes.
distract
Yes.
you from the
Yes.
realities.
Yes.
of it.
Yes. Yes. Andre, you're nodding.
I agree with that. And you need to call in the government understanding.
Mhm.
You also have the extravagance of the tent for Carifex in Watford.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is.
You've seen it?
The tent?
Mhm.
Yeah, I have seen it.
Is it still an ongoing enterprise or
It's
is it
still
on
there.
pause?
It's still there.
People are they're selling all it now? Well,
No, it's still there.
is also the
Tent is
activity has stopped.
The activity has stopped, but the tent is still there.
Mhm.
So you don't know. But then you also have the thing at Newton,
Oh, you've seen it?
which
We laugh at that. Sorry, let's not laugh at it this week.
yeah, which is the hurricane just made about. I cannot understand what it is. But you know,
We promise not to laugh this
it's
week.
great. The government finds money for things like that.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
then someone who is on welfare and has a situation where they need housing,
Mhm.
you can't find the money to pay the rent. So these are the things which need to change.
Mhm.
Because currently the welfare department would pay $800 towards rent for someone who would need a place.
Mhm.
But tell me where in Barbados you can find a place for $800.
Mhm.
When people are renting you a
A
room
room.
for
Mhm.
$250,
Mhm.
and so you're not going to find not even a room to rent for $800 a month.
Right.
So
Oh, the
then
room is 250 per week.
or more.
That's 1,000 a month.
Exactly,
Mhm.
and that's just the room that you're sharing,
Yes.
toilet and bathroom
Yes.
and kitchen with other people,
Mhm.
right? So these things need to improve. All of these things are happening as well because the whole houses have not materialized.
Mhm.
So therefore, there's competition in the housing market.
Mhm. Mhm.
The government has not built any rental units from the time that they came in, which
Mhm.
would help to ease the
Which means they have not built low income housing.
exactly. They have not built low income housing. And when you think about it, there are a lot of pensioners out there who are struggling because, and these are the ones that we really need to talk about.
Mhm. Mhm.
Pension needs to be increased.
Yes.
Because a lot of pensioners who actually run a household are finding it hard to make ends meet with their pension, which has not been increased,
Mhm.
which needs to be increased now
Mhm.
because your food bill has increased, your electricity bill is so high, you're still paying the sewage tax, even though they're offering a rebate to pensioners on the sewage contribution
Mhm.
or the
Mhm.
water bill,
Mhm.
which is
Mhm.
but the other expenses out there, if you have a car, what
Mhm.
we pay for gas is
Yes.
still too high.
Permit me to interrupt you, Andre. Have you heard any uh, Barbados Labour Party supporter deny that there's hardship? I really want to know this. Has any Barbados Labour Party supporter denied that there's a lot of hardship in Barbados?
Some of them probably will because
Not the ones who are paid to do that. I mean,
because
regular people.
we regular people they are finding it hard as well because they may not come to you, they may not openly say it,
Mhm.
but they will still call you. They're one of the first people to call you
Mhm.
and request assistance because
Mhm.
they too are finding it hard to make ends meet.
Yes.
So it is hard out there for everybody,
Everybody.
and anybody
Middle and working class people.
exactly, and anybody that tells you that they are surviving in this current economy,
Mhm.
they're lying
Mhm. Mhm.
because they don't want people to know how much they're suffering.
Mhm.
Remember, there are people out there who can't pay the mortgages,
Yes.
or after they pay the mortgage, they cannot. You don't have any disposable income left,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that is hard,
Yes.
right? We need to get to that stage in Barbados where we have that disposable income.
Mhm.
And these are the things that we need to work on. And that is why more and more people will go to welfare or are going to welfare now. But the welfare department also needs to increase what they're paying to persons. But I think within the job market, we need to protect workers. Because don't forget, with the minimum wage,
Mhm.
you no longer work a 40-hour week. Some people, their week have been reduced to 30 hours or
Mhm.
20 hours
Mhm.
because of the increase in the minimum wage. So they say cap or what
Yes. Yes. Andre, on behalf of Barbadians, can we ask the government then to decrease the number of consultants, many of whom are well-to-do people? I mean, they're not people who are badly off. Stop, reduce their own expenses, the government's expenses. The government has a high look in 2024. Let me completely say this: the government has high expenditures on itself. And when I did my first reply to the budget, I think we had discovered that the government, the Ministry of Finance, had reserved unto itself more than $300 million. Ryan Strachan spent a while after that trying to say where that money went to, and he hasn't done it in any satisfactory way. Can we say to the people of Barbados that the government needs to reduce its spending on itself and allocate those resources towards people in Barbados who are suffering? Can we say that to the people of Barbados?
Yes, we can.
That it can be done, that the people in Barbados who are suffering can have that suffering alleviated if the government spends less on itself and more on the people?
Yes, we definitely can, because the consultants who have not left home for the period of time that they have been consultants and you don't even know what they're doing, take up office space, they're receiving payments, that can help a person. Right now, that's the situation. The nurses demanding security.
Security, yes.
Because at some polyclinics, you only have one security guard where you may have a back entrance that is not manned.
So something as basic as security for nurses,
Exactly.
they cannot provide that?
And we should have the ability to do it. Don't forget, this same government
We'll fire a consultant and hire 2 security guards then.
correct. They passed the supplementary of $30 million, which went towards recruiting nurses from Ghana. So I don't think
30 million.
30 million.
Wow.
I don't think that money is the issue. It's the priority.
The priority.
of the government
Yes.
that
Yes.
is the issue.
Yes.
So we need to answer serious questions. The government needs to do more. You need to also look at it politically as well. Because if you have people who are in need and vulnerable and come to you, it creates that situation where, look, they will continue to come to the Barbados Labour Party MPs and supporters and look to them. I think we need to wake up from that. That's corned beef and biscuit politics,
yes.
2.0 or 3.0. And we need to move beyond that. We cannot be creating a welfare state. We need proper jobs and proper payment for people, because Barbadians have their dignity. There are people who do not want you to know that they are on welfare, or who don't want to go to welfare, but they're ending up in that situation because cost of living is too high. What you're being paid is not enough, and you end up in those situations because of out of desperation. You cannot have a government manipulating people in situations like that. That is what they're doing, because you can do better in terms of meeting the needs of persons that they should not have to go to the welfare department.
I'm sorry to overwork you, Andre, but you are our spokesperson on health, and you do an excellent job. Are the poor in Barbados being well served? Not only the poor, middle-income people. Are they being well served by the public health system?
No, they're not.
Give us some specifics on that.
No, they're not. And one thing that we need to look at, if someone in Barbados happens to get a diagnosis of cancer,
yes,
and they do not have funds in their pocket that they can pay for the expensive medication, or even pay for the test to get the diagnosis in the first place,
yes,
more than likely the outcome for that individual is great. Our government is not doing that.
Grim, you mean they're going to die?
Right. They're going to die. They probably can't afford the medication. Don't know when they will get the appointment. Get and the treatment. We need to do better. In particular for men, we need to do better with prostate cancer.
Yes.
A number of different cancers, even for children. I understand that there may be a situation where a child in Barbados may be in need of a surgery and transplant. Cannot be done here in Barbados, but done overseas. And the cost of the test to test the willing donor is a very high sum. And in situations like that, for a child, even if it is a situation where the likelihood of survival may be very low, our government needs to be in a position that those costs are covered, because we're not talking about $200. We're talking about over $12,000. Nobody has $12,000 put down for a test. But
they have it put down for airfares, though.
But they have it put down.
And that's the point we must emphasize to Bajans all the time.
Those are simple things that a caring government should cover. Do not put the family through that situation. You have far too many people in Barbados now with appeals, donation, donate to this cause,
Yes.
donate to allow this child to get this test,
Yes.
donate to allow this child to go to Colombia, which is an open policy for treatment because they offer that. As long as doctors here in Barbados, and we also have a situation where we don't have enough consultants working within the healthcare sector in Barbados, so we have to wait on doctors to come into Barbados. Hematology is one of those areas as well. So the government is not doing enough. And as a result of that, a lot of people are suffering. You know, many people are still on a waiting list from before COVID for simple surgeries at Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
Is that so?
And so they cannot get them there. So all of these are things that need to be looked into. And it is the poor person who will suffer.
Who will suffer?
Because
yes,
the person who can afford to go overseas, not a Barbados thing.
Yes.
The person who can afford to go to the private doctors across Barbados who offer the same service and they do offer excellent service, not a Barbados them. But there's not many people that have $20,000 put down that can pay privately to get something. We should not have a society where your survival depends on how much you earn.
Yes.
This is not what
Yes.
Barrow constructed this
Right.
country for.
Yes.
The pillars of this country with free education,
Health.
stuff like that, and health care.
Yes.
Not so that the
Subsidized
rich
housing.
and subsidized
Pillars of the
housing,
project in social democracy.
exactly, and education. Not only that the rich will be the ones who will benefit. And these are the things that need to be fought for
Yes.
the average Barbadian. So yes, we have far too many situations like that where people, the survival of persons is dependent on how much they have.
Yes.
What cash.
I like it that you use the word, the things we must fight for. Melissa, we in this party now, coming out of this program, must we now mount an aggressive, and I mean aggressive, we're not going out there fighting, but must we mount an aggressive campaign to demand that the government limits or cut its spending on itself?
Yeah, we absolutely should.
That's where we must start, must we not?
The first thing that we should do is demand that the government appoint a new auditor general.
Yes.
The
Yes.
government, they
To monitor their
campaign- yeah,
spending.
correct.
Yes.
They campaign on accountability and transparency.
Yes.
And right now, for the 7 years, they have not been accountable for anything.
Yes.
The Prime Minister, she travels weekly, multiple days per week. We did a show a couple of weeks ago where we calculated that a trip on one private jet was
Ethiopia.
almost $1 million.
Yes, that's correct.
So, and then the sad thing about it is that the same week we had the hospital asking for a donation of $100,000 for equipment.
How is this possible?
I
In Barbados?
don't know. So this government, and we're asking for a price tag, a budget for the Carifeston.
Can't get it.
We can't get it. So this government is refusing to tell Barbadians how they're spending their money.
But the evidence is there that they're spending it and spending lots of it, millions on millions of it. And we sit here, we are Barbadians, and we have to be meek and humble and accept it because celebrity status for the Prime Minister is more important than the welfare of Barbadians. Damien, we have to mount an aggressive campaign to demand that the government cuts its spending on itself.
Very much so. And cast your minds back when the Prime Minister, when she was the opposition leader, she had criticized the DLP government, saying that they were doing too much traveling.
Yes, yes, yes. And remember the size of the cabinet. They had 17, it was.
Yeah.
And she was carrying on.
This government just engages in hypocrisy and
of the worst kind.
Of the worst kind. And it is something that we must get on the front line aggressively.
Yes.
And tell them that, listen, this is not good enough. You campaigned on accountability and transparency. You had criticized the previous administration about their spending, but yet now you have borrowed more. You've borrowed more in 7 years than any government has, any two-term government has.
They borrowed more?
More.
Have you seen the evidence of the borrowing in terms of delivery of social services?
None.
Andre has told us about a healthcare system that's in decline.
That is in decline. And when you go to
a welfare system Decline.
When you go to A&E now, you are spending more time in there now.
You're spending more time.
You're spending, I have people complaining to me and telling me that they're spending 2, 3, 4 days just to get something, a simple procedure.
Mhm, mhm.
And then when that is time off from work that you're missing,
Yes.
that is salary that you're missing
Yes.
out on.
Yes.
But then yet every 5 minutes the prime minister and some person in her cabinet is on a plane
Yes.
flying somewhere begging for more money, or to just, I don't know, look pretty at a function, or what's not, saying that Barbados is represented at these
Mhm.
these international
Mhm.
functions. It must stop.
And the priority becomes tint.
The priority
Take the
becomes
tint
that.
off your car and all will be well in
Take the
Barbados.
tint off your car. We can spend your money,
Mhm.
tax you to death,
Yes.
tax the skin off your back. The innocent man, because I don't know how people that have tint on their cars are being criminalized for something that they have nothing to do with. Because I've never seen a car open its door and then the car door itself had a gun and shoot somebody. But then you telling me that tint is the problem,
Mhm, mhm.
apparently. So, yeah.
Felicia, we had a chance to ask. Look, we had so many other aspects to this topic. Andre was very eloquent on health and the failure of the health system. You're our very busy spokesperson on education, and we did not even reach education. Are you satisfied with the state of education in Barbados, the institution of education which built this country?
Yes, and I think I don't think it's only a question about what Felicia Dujon thinks about education, but what do the citizens,
Yes,
parents,
yes, tell
teachers
us,
think
tell us.
about education and how it has deteriorated over the last 7 years.
Mhm.
We're seeing not only in terms of the conditions of the schools and how teachers are being treated, the lack of input. We've had an education system that seems to be transforming. We do not know when transformers will actually take place.
Mhm.
It's been over 4 years now. This year, next year will be 4 years that we've been trying to transform the entire curriculum, the entire
4 years.
education system. And within that 4 years, we spent millions of dollars
Mhm.
because the unit itself receives millions of dollars. And what we're seeing now is a lot of PR being placed into it. It has not been functional. So the PR machinery is working to ensure that things are done the way that it is done. But for me, the reality is that a government that does not care about its people does not care about our future. It simply does not care.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because if you don't care about your health system, you don't care about the education system, it tells us that you don't have a vision for the future of your citizens, not only children, but also all citizens. So it tells us, you speak about in terms of celebrity status,
Mhm.
but when you said that, I almost chuckled because at the end of the day, we're paying for that celebrity
Of course
status.
we are. Very
Most celebrities
expensively.
make their own money, and
Yes, we have one
and
around
we're
here.
the one paying for.
We are paid for it.
So it brings so we have to ask deeply those questions. What is important to us as citizens? And I think you spoke about having a massive campaign. I think citizens have their responsibility as well.
Yes.
It is their responsibility to ensure that the government does not infringe on their rights, that the government is using their taxpayers, their monies in a way that is respectable,
Yes.
in a way that is accountable and transparent. And we're not seeing that. So this responsibility is not only the Democratic Labour Party, but you as citizens.
Well, we
You
have to
have a
be a lead voice
We will
because
be
a
the
lot of
lead
people out
voice.
there are afraid to speak.
But we need them to do what is necessary.
Yes.
That you have the responsibility, and your responsibility is to be an active participant in the governance of your country, the governance of our country. So I think it's important that citizens now, you need to speak up, you need to know and hold this government into account. They have to be held responsible. We cannot have our education system in decline, our health system, our agricultural sector is gone.
We need a separate program on that. We need a
So
separate
we
program.
need to
Drive around the country.
every sector of this society has collapsed. We have to recognize it. It's no longer an illusion for us. It has collapsed.
Yes.
And we need to face that, because when the Democratic Labour Party, when we do become the government, we have to restore good governance in this country.
Malissa, you're in a constituency that has two large housing estates, Silver Hill and Gall Hill. Where's the government on housing? Success, large success, or obvious failure?
Obvious is a big failure.
Big failure.
Even with these housing units, individuals within these homes still have not received the title deeds
Mm-hmm.
to
Mhm.
these homes.
Mm-hmm.
They were on agreements with the government
Mm-hmm.
with a right to own program
Mm-hmm.
about 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If they paid up to 20 years, they will be able to own the houses after that period. And many of them go back to NHC,
Mhm.
requiring about the process and requiring about the title deeds, and they still have not received the title deeds as yet.
Mhm.
We go on to the steel frame houses.
Mm-hmm.
You drive around Barbados, ready steel frame houses have been put up, and you see that the houses are full of rust.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have a photograph of one
yeah, we are building these
in College
homes
Savannah.
in a part like St. Philip. This is the area that is
Coastline.
close to the sea.
Coastline.
And all the sea spray is destroying
Yes.
the houses.
Yeah.
We had the failure in with the whole project
Mm-hmm.
where the government knew that if they built the homes with the traditional block, it would have been way cheaper
Yes.
than if they built the homes
With
with the
prefab.
prefab.
Yes.
They knew, and they still went ahead and agreed to do the prefab homes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an additional 34 million
Mhm.
to the taxpayers. And then we see a press conference this week with the manufacturer, the prefab business,
Mm-hmm.
saying that they're going ahead
Mm-hmm.
and building more houses with prefab.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the government know that they're wasting money,
Mhm.
and they clearly do not care.
You talked about a press conference on Saturday. We're having a press conference right here at 11 o'clock. The government has gone ahead with the October 1st initiative. The law has not come to Parliament as yet, but they've gone ahead.
Mm.
And that is the immigration bill and the citizenship bill. I understand it's gone to select committee so that maybe the public will have a say, but we intend to have our say on Saturday as to the whole question of regional integration. At 11 o'clock here on Saturday, media conference. These 2 hours have felt like half hour. I've really found this discussion very, very enlightening, illuminating, and engaging. I want to thank all of you for coming along this evening at very short notice. Thanks very, very much. But this is the quality of the party. We have, no, I'm talking to you. we have some bright young people of integrity. This is the team that we're putting together to contest the next election. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed the show. We are doing a press conference here on Saturday. It will be on these channels at 11 o'clock. We are talking about the citizenship bill, the immigration bill, and of course, next week we will come to you on Tuesday, and we are stepping it up. I used the word here tonight, aggressive. We in the Democratic Labour Party are becoming more aggressive, not for the sake of aggression, but for the sake of the rights of the people of Barbados. Please have a good night and God bless you.